great.
It's a good thing.
Oh.
I thought it was off and on.
Should be everything from public.
Okay. Huh? Next time.
I just realized that.
It's just so many of them at one time. I'm surprised you got them all without being all gobbledygook.
Yeah, it should be in there.
Mostly, I guess it sprung back just a little bit.
Yeah, okay, take it down.
We'll fake it.
There you go.
That's pretty smart.
Well, the TV is on,
Right.
TV is on internet.
Should wait to do the phone until when the other one's ready.
I wish I didn't.
So ready, 6:30?
Do it again soon.
Yeah, tile the phone in there, please.
Okay.
Do it again.
Okay, let's try that again
I haven't been to one.
and make sure it's right.
Didn't want to burn up any seat. Yeah, that's what Russell said.
Welcome to the GCI Conference Center. Thank you. Please stand by. If you are the chairperson, press the star key now. Please enter your chairperson passcode, then press pound. You will now be placed into conference. There are 4 participants in the conference.
Strongly advised.
Strongly advised.
I didn't put a hole so I could drink my coffee.
I think there's some straws left there.
And straws. I've never drank coffee through a straw before. I'll stand out here first and make coffee.
Hey, who's on the phone, please?
Angela?
Jessica?
Victoria? Minnie?
Angela, Jessica, Victoria, Minnie. Okay, great. Thanks. We're standing by here waiting for the mayor. Millie's planning on dialing in. I haven't heard from Chanel.
We're waiting on that.
I almost cried. Did you start it again? Nope.
Okay, we'll come to order. Roll call, please.
Julie McDonald. Hannah Belzamet.
Here.
Jim C.
Here.
Millie Schoonover. Millie Schoonover. Mike Kapnick.
Here.
Chanel McKinley, Timothy O'Connor,
Here.
Mayor, we are expecting Councilwoman Schoonover to dial in.
Okay.
And we'll see if Michelle or Chanel dials in as well. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I made an error on the agenda. The consent agenda should not include the resolutions. I should have put those in the hearing from the public section. So I recommend you,
Skip over that.
well, you just remove the resolutions from the consent agenda and consider adoption of the other items.
Okay. Let's do that. Do you want to make a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to adopt the consent agenda, moving the resolutions to hearing for the public later in the meeting.
Second.
Motion's been seconded to move the consent agenda and remove the resolutions to later in the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. Okay, moving on. Hearing from the public, and we have an officer here from Kawak that wanted to talk to us about something.
Yes, sir. Thank you. If I may approach, usually I have a podium here, this is kind of. So I just want to, I'll make this very brief. Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. In my career as an officer, this type of recognition, what we do is normally in front of council, so that's why I'm here. Since my employment with the Quogue Police Department, I was hired in 2009, became the chief in 2013. And during this entire time, we've had nothing but turnovers, which leads to sometimes leaving one officer to respond to calls, and we just can't do that. So I relied on Chief Ely and his department for emergency backup. Without that, we'd be not doing so good. So I want to take this time and present this plaque to Chief Ely and his department for the ongoing support and assistance for our department. This means a lot to us. Without his department, we wouldn't survive. So I just want to say thank you.
Hello?
We appreciate the recognition.
Again, thank you.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
Hold it, gentlemen, let's get a photograph.
One moment here.
Not shaking hands with him.
Do we have to wear these?
You do not, if you don't like to.
Take it on.
Reading these things.
Hold up the,
Pretty safe.
there you go.
Hold up the plaque and a handshake, fellas, please. There we go.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
RJ.
Oh, am I supposed to say something?
Oh, you can't, I just wanted the plaque, so I can show the council.
It's really presented to John, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, and I, did you leave?
Yeah, I want to go get him.
No, I'll talk to him tomorrow, but I mean, it's, you know, it's not my department that we're in. He said, but it's the city of Craig. And law enforcement, I mean, you know, we're neighboring cities, we have cases that go back and forth, and we use them as well.
Oh, yeah. EMS and fire does the same for each other.
Yep.
We all recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not a team effort, then we're gonna lose.
Agreed. Very much appreciate what you guys do.
Millie, have you joined us on the phone?
Yes, I did.
Hi. The mayor's called the meeting to order and we're about to enter, well, we are in hearing from the public.
Okay, thanks.
Nice. Hearing from the public, we're open for comment now.
Hello.
We have a biologist here who wants to talk to us.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Tiffany Stevens. I was invited here today by the mayor and by Jim Boland to talk. So I work with Seagrove Kelp Co. or Premium Aquatics. We have the kelp farm that's out at Doyle Bay, just south of town. And I was invited to give an update on our progress, and also, do you want me to talk about the other meetings that were happening this week, or just?
Talk about whatever you're comfortable talking.
Okay. So just an update on progress. Last year was 2020 was our first year of progress. And we had some troubles that were related to things kind of out of our control. You might have known that the Craig area had a really large herring spawn last year. And that severely affected our farm. The herring covered every piece of kelp we had. And so we've just been learning how to try to manage that interaction for future events or potential events. And then other than that, COVID, of course, has affected us, but we've been doing really well following the mandates that are outlined by the state and doing all those proper PPE and testing and all that. But we've come along really well. We've hit all the major benchmarks that we've set out for ourselves. We've been successful in being vertically integrated, from seed production to planting out to maintaining the crops over winter to harvest and processing and sales. So we're doing really well with things that we have control over. And we're very optimistic moving forward with that. To the point where we're trying to work with outside investors and other corporations to bring more commerce to the Craig area. We're talking to a large bioplastics company that might want to come in and process pelts or other aquaculture or natural goods into multiple products that can be used across essentially all of societal goods. They can be processed into almost anything we want them to. But with that, and then this year we have planted out a little bit more kelp than we did last year. We have about 30 miles of line out that have seeded kelp, 3 species, ribbon kelp, bull kelp, and sugar kelp. And we were just out on the farm yesterday to check out the lines and the growth, and it looks beautiful. It looks actually way better than last year. So last year, some of you might have seen all these orange buoys floating everywhere after some of the first storms. This year we've had no infrastructure problems and no line breakages or anything like that. So we're making really good progress and are excited to share it with you guys. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Glad to have you here. So thanks for doing it.
Yeah, and thank you for being so open and helping us try to get established and move forward with that too. You guys have been instrumental in that process.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about all the integration of the company and what you're doing with your product. Besides that, I know there's a number of people within the city of Craig that are hired. Their on-site day-to-day manager here is from Craig. So there's a number of people hired, I think, mostly part-time, but still it's contributing, so that's terrific too. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to hiring more. We're really excited with the local talent that we've been able to recruit. It's fantastic, and and on this note of progress, we have 2 other farms in the area immediate to Craig that are in process for permitting, and those are almost at the end of that process. So if we have a successful year this year, there's potential that will bring at least 1 more large farm, maybe 2 on in the proximity, and we can't recycle the employees we have. We have to hire a whole new set for each farm, and so that should duplicate or triplicate the labor that we're going to need to employ. So
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to do the black thing now, John?
Sure. Just call your attention to it. The council in December approved February 2nd, 2021 as Fred Hamilton Senior Day. Council passed a resolution. So staff worked to develop this sort of a more ceremonial appearing resolution, which is what's up there. And there is a parade planned for Fred Senior's 100th birthday on Sunday, January 31st from 2 to 3 o'clock. It's kind of a reverse parade where people will drive by Fred Senior's house and stop and wave. I talked to the family today and arranged for the mayor to formally present the ceremonial resolution during the course of the parade. So that'll take place on, again, the 31st.
It says
Of
his
January.
birthday's on-
His birthday's on the 2nd.
Okay, yeah. But in June,
The Daily News, what's that?
when is the parade?
January 31st.
Okay.
Did I say June?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's hard to do.
January. It's a week from Sunday. The staff at the Ketchikan Daily News helped with the formatting and the design, so I'm happy with the way it turned out. It's there for your inspection.
Where are you gonna hang it up at?
That one's going to be given to
Oh, nice.
Fred Senior.
We'll have one in here, but we'll also have one for him, for his house. Any more public comment? Nobody online? Okay. Moving on. Reports from the city officials, Mr. Administrator.
I have a written report in the packet, just kind of calling attention to the big announcement from Sea Alaska Timber Corporation that will likely have some negative economic consequences for us this year. But there's more detail in the packet. And other than that, I'd be happy to answer questions if there are any.
The big thing is, if it's not gonna just impact us this year, this is gonna really, really mess with us for the future. And as your number one thing says, downtown harbor project, we cannot bypass that opportunity because money is going away. Between them closing down and the new administration, I don't think there's gonna be, the state land, they're not gonna be able to stop them from logging, but the rest of it's pretty much done.
Yeah, we're going to feel it.
It's gonna hurt.
We're hoping that this mariculture thing will kind of give us a shot in the arm, but it's not gonna be the equivalent of logging, so we all know that.
Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm glad to see they're gonna fix the trail, because with the pool closed, that's really hard to run. It's so dangerous.
I'm going down there tomorrow,
It's so bad.
see what we can do.
Yeah, Tim's going to help clear away some of the timber, and Doug's already started some of the work on the Hamilton Drive separated trail.
Yeah.
But he's also got work planned for the Cemetery Island Trail as well, and more to come in the summer.
It's pretty bad down there.
Rick, and one thing that we need to consider is the initial 500 feet or whatever it is through there, we have to D1 that. Now, that is the grossest mess that I've ever seen going in front of the cemetery.
Right, that's Doug's first task in the Cemetery Island Trail, is that stretch through the cemetery itself.
It's slippery. It's so
Muddy,
bad.
it's between the traffic and the rain.
Yeah.
There's just the rain's just kind of really accentuated the problem this year.
I'm gonna probably drop those two big spruce snags there, and then we'll be able to put that D1 down and not have to get all pulled up when those limbs and everything come down. We'll get rid of those. So otherwise, we'll get them on there at some point. Yeah. Any questions for the administrator? None? Treasurer?
Mr. Mayor, I've submitted a report. I did not put in there that today I submitted a report to the state for the CARES money to let them know that we spent all of the money. And so that was nice to be able to complete that up with them. And I'll answer any questions if there's any.
You're in the middle of an audit now too, aren't you?
Yes. And it's so much fun.
I hope Lara enjoys them.
She's learning to like it, isn't she?
Oh, no, she loves it.
Yeah, I know, there you go.
If you need somebody to roll your change, you just call her over.
Mhm.
We're still working on the access of her being able, the auditor to be able to remote in on the computer. So once that gets going, I'm sure it's gonna pile a little bit more on Florida.
Well, she was bored anyway.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right, any questions for the treasurer? None? Audit managers.
Good evening. I submitted a written report and be happy to answer any questions.
You are opening up pretty soon, aren't you?
Monday.
There it is. Get ready, Andy, it's gonna come.
Yes, this is Julie. I really liked all the ideas you were coming up with.
Well, most of them, with everything that will happen tonight, should be able to be in place as of Monday, except for one of them at the moment, because like I said in my report, I'm not quite ready to make that jump yet.
Are you gonna be renting the pool?
We haven't stopped renting the pool.
Okay.
So yes, we will be renting the pool.
Any more questions for Jessica? Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
City clerk.
I was off, for 2 weeks. We bought a house and we're moving. So, some of the things that I've been working on, for the other half of the month was, the RUBA best practices that gives us, points for grants. And I figured out the vehicle for hire situation, all the forms and the fees and the things that we needed, right, RJ? He helped. Senior citizen, disabled, veteran property exemptions were the other things I've been working on and learning how to do. And we're coming right along with those. And my understanding is the assessors will be coming over from Sitka in February and March. And then it looks like billing will probably go out in April, I believe,
March 31st.
is the
It's due.
deadline.
Mhm.
Yeah. And let's see, we, along those lines, there is a BOE training, which is the Board of Equalization, that you guys probably already know about and have probably already attended. It's a presentation PowerPoint. There's a new fella at the head of it named Joseph Cassius. And he would like to know who would like the training. It's going to be about 45-minute PowerPoint presentation. And apparently it's going to be virtual and it has to be at a set time. It cannot be just following a link and doing it when you can. Unfortunately, they don't have that set up yet because I did inquire about that. But is anyone interested in attending that training prior to any possible appeals or anything coming from the assessments? Has anyone not had the training? Everyone's had it?
I don't know.
I don't think that
It's the governing body that rules the rules and regulations if there are appeals. And apparently, I'm all new to this. I'm getting my information from John, as you well know. And so, John, do you want to explain a little more?
And so the Board of Equalization, as you recall, sits every May and adjudicates appeals of property tax valuations. Most of you have been through it. at least a couple of times. The training that Tracy has communicated with the state about is would emphasize, those of you who've been through it, emphasize the experience you've had. There'll be a site to the statutory authority that the Board of Equalization has and the general duties. Chanel, have you been through, you were on the council last May, right? Yes. Yes. Yeah, okay. So I think you've all been through the
All days
BOE.
just blend together.
Yeah, I know. At any rate, if you have an interest in sitting through the training, the employee at the state assessor's office will, he's coordinated it. We have a sample of his PowerPoint slides here. You can attend from home or from here at City Hall. What Tracy will need to know is whether or not you're interested in sitting through the training, and then she'll arrange for a time and date with the staff at the state, and then let you know when it's set up, and if you can make it, great. If not, it's hard for me to believe that once the first virtual training session's been made, that it can't be posted somewhere and then watched at your convenience. So, but it's the choice of the state staff to implement this training live virtually. So Tracy will, as I said, set up a date and time, keep you all posted. And then if, for those of you who can't make it, who want the training, we'll press the state to allow some kind of a link to review it at, like I said already, at a more convenient time.
Could we record that on a thumb drive, maybe, and keep it?
I am not aware. We have the fellow's new who's doing this, so he's not very knowledgeable with this. When I inquired about getting just a link that you could watch it at your own convenience, so I could try to do that, but according to him, it wouldn't do any good. That you have to actually. He was reluctant to provide the PowerPoints without actually having the presentation with it. So that's just kind of the information that I got. But if I could get sort of an idea of the interest so that I can set a tentative date of how many are gonna want to attend this. Because if there are appeals, we need to know the rules and regulations in order to do them properly.
Tuesday is the only day I can. Any Tuesday.
And he did offer to do them evenings if possible, if that is
3 a.m. evening.
working.
I'm like a 9 p.m.
We'll convey to the staff that if he wants to reach as many council members as possible, we need to post it so it can be downloaded and watched. So we'll see if we can make some ground that way with them.
So far, are you interested, Julie?
I'm interested, but I'm just hesitating on
The times.
times.
Yeah, okay. And then Chanel,
I would be interested if it worked in a time, but I just work all the time, so.
I know. Okay, Jim C?
I'm good.
Okay, that's new. And Mayor?
I will probably come watch.
Okay. And Hannah? Okay. And
If it's recorded, then watch it at a later date, probably.
Millie? Are you interested?
I am, it depends on the date, so
Okay,
as soon as you find out the dates, will you let me know?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next meeting.
I'm sorry.
Next meeting.
Oh, I didn't get to that part, did I? Okay, so the next staff meeting, or I'm sorry, city council meeting would be February 4th, but my understanding is Jim C. and John Bowling will be unavailable on that date.
How's our agenda look on that, John?
I haven't even started working on it yet. We'll draft one up, and if it's I'll just check with you if you're available. You can consider having it. If you don't want to have it, we'll just postpone it or cancel it and then meet on the,
18th.
yes, thank you. You did the math for me. I appreciate it. Yeah, the 18th.
Oh, I have the, no math involved.
That would work.
Tracy
Yes,
or Mr. Mayor, I go on vacation February 17th and I return home March 2nd. So I won't be available on the 18th, but I will be available on the 4th. So just let me know when the next council is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tracy.
that is. Thank you.
That's it? Any questions for Tracy? No? All right, moving on, city planner.
I submitted a written report. The only change I noted in my staff report is the disaster declaration for COVID was set to expire January 14th. The governor did issue a new disaster declaration on the 14th. It's good through February 14th. So we'll see what likely the legislature has in February. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Any questions for Brian? None? Okay. Fire and EMS coordinator. Any of you call in?
I'm here. I did submit a report. I am available for any questions. I want to add to the recognition to the police department and Chief Healy. They're there to support us all the time, and that is so huge for us to do a good job. I just want to let them all know that we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Any questions for me? Okay. We're working on getting a quick response fire truck from, or at least a bed for a fire truck from Ketchikan right now. Not gonna cost us anything. It's got a pumper on it. We put it on at 554. And we could be the scene with 1 or 2 guys within a couple of minutes. If we keep it at somebody's house. So we're working on, we'll be going after that pumper bed shortly. So Minnie's coordinating that with what Ketchikan Fire Department. They're giving it to us, but we'll have to end up buying a truck eventually.
But they're just giving it?
Yes. We thought we were gonna have to pay something for it, but they said no.
Not even the bringing it over?
We'll go get it. I'll just take a flatbed trailer and a truck and go pick it up and bring it over and store it down at the yard until we can find a truck to put it on.
An old fire truck?
Uh,
I said I have an old fire truck.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that. Mhm. Anyway, all right, Mr. Harbor Master.
Mr. Mayor, I've submitted a written report, but would be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions for the Harbor Master?
Oh, I saw like the ward code doc is slick and it was, but I think it was more so because of the like slush and ice and stuff on there.
Is it the boardwalk you're talking about?
Yeah.
We're working, we have plans to do some pressure washing down there and we need to coordinate with Russell, but our portable pressure washer that we have for that project had a part go out. We got that part fixed and we realized there was a couple other parts we needed for it. Anyway, it's back up and running, so we're hoping to get that washed soon, to get that slime off. The part right in front of Ruth Ann's is the slickest. So.
Library.
Mr. Mayor, I submitted a written report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We are back open for appointments with the same schedule and setup that we were
when we first opened back up in May. And we get sometimes as little as 2 people, sometimes as many as 10 to 12 people in a day. So it's nice to have people back in the building.
Seen a lot of traffic in your parking lot lately. Good sign.
Yeah, it's been not bad.
Good. Any questions for the library? All right, Police Chief Ely.
Submitted a report, I guess a couple of things. All the state kiosks of the computers for DMV, for taking written tests, whether motorcycle, Class D, CDL, throughout the state is down. And since we opted into the kiosks 1 or 2 years ago, one of the things we had to give up was the written test, the old school. So we can't even do that. So if you come in to try to take a test, it's not going to happen until the state fixes it. No idea how long that's going to take. All the jail facilities in the Southeast are maxed or overcapacitated. So DOC, Department of Corrections, has asked that all facilities hold inmates not transfer, which on one side, jail mandates are going to be through the roof for us. On the flip side is I'm burning through probably $600 to $800 a week in inmate food. So good, bad, but and then it tasks the staff as well, because when you've got 7, 8, 9, 10 people and you've got to do showers, you have to feed them. So I mean, we'll pick up a little bit of extra overtime. That's gonna, but it shouldn't be too bad. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But so, and then with more inmates comes more problems for EMS as well. So we've been keeping them very, very busy this particular start of the year. Other than that, definitely staying busy. This is supposed to be our slack time, but we got some overachievers for criminals, and we're staying pretty busy. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Why are the jails maxed out?
Well, part of the reason is because the larger facilities up in the interior, because of COVID, has basically said, we're not taking anybody.
Okay.
And some of the smaller facilities that are throughout the Southeast, mainly the contract jails, are still taking people. And to my knowledge, none of the contract jails have had any COVID issues. The larger facilities haven't. Now, granted, the more inmates or people that you're going to be processing in, the higher chance that you're going to get somebody that may have it. I mean, Lemon Creek actually had more of an outbreak with their staff than they did with the inmates, but then they shut down for a while. And then the feds, they just recently opened up as well, so you've got a lot of people that are in the state facilities being held on federal charges as well. And we fit in that boat with we're holding federal detainees with state at the moment. With any luck, I mean, Goose Creek, which is one of the bigger ones, if they reopen up, then you'll see a trickle effect from Southeast people being moved, which then will allow for more flexibility for the smaller jails or facilities or contract ones to move some people. And in our jail, we are a short-term holding facility, but when DOC puts out a request that we hold longer than normal, we're not going to get any sanctions or have any concerns because we're holding somebody over than the allotted time that we're contracted to do. We'll be good. We'll be all right in that area.
What's your whole time? Is it like this 5 days, or what is your?
Per contract 15, but historically we've held up to 20, and then after 20 we try to move them to a larger facility. No, we have held people the longest since I've been here. We held one for 98 days, but he signed a waiver because he did not want to be transported. So we have protocols in place that we can hold people longer if they sign a waiver, or if there's times where the weather's been really bad and you haven't been able to move people. So that doesn't ding us. So, yeah. be happy to answer any questions.
No end in sight of that right now, is there?
There's some bills before the legislative branch now that is geared to keeping people out of jail. Not as bad as SB 91, but but I mean, it's just been introduced, nothing's been passed yet, so we'll see how that shakes out.
Okay, thank you, RJ. Public Works,
I did not submit a written report as required, but I'll be more than happy to report. We're working from storm to storm since October, and been removing trees and helping put rock down and doing what we can to maintain things. So we're moving forward on our soda ash machine. We've set up a bypass system for that so that we can swap out that old unit. And we hope to have that done here in the next couple of weeks. The biggest part is coordinating people flying in and having to quarantine because of COVID-19. Because we have to have certain people help during the startup process for that. And so we've been doing some additional debris cleanup over there at the pit 62. We just kind of finished that area up. And, you know, we had that big tree that fell down over there on East Ham. We kind of assisted with that, got that all cleaned up. We've been hauling rock for the path, you know, renovation there, and then also stockpiling for ourselves. So we've been out on Port St. Nicholas. The weather's been nice enough that we've been able to get out there and grade it a little bit more. We just finished up a couple days ago with that. We do have the ice blades on it and the chains on the motor grader now. Supposed to get a little bit of snow. We'll see if it sticks or not, but we're supposed to get some snow this weekend. So we're prepped and ready to go. Our dump truck, one of our dump trucks is down right now. The hydraulic system is down, so we've got special ordered parts coming in Gold Streak hopefully by Monday or Tuesday of next week. And so that's where we're at.
okay. We'll try to do your trees on the graveyard trail tomorrow. Try to get started around 8:30 or 9 if we can.
Sounds good.
So just so you know what's going on.
Oh, and one other thing there, Mr. Mayor, and of course, probably everybody knows, but we were working with CTA on the sidewalk project as well. We're starting to move forward with that. So you'll see some road closures over there as a detour as they're working in that area from Water Tower to Sunnyside, or actually Kelsey Court in that area there. So.
Question for Russell? Okay, moving on. Recreation.
I'm here.
There you are.
I submitted a report, and I just want to let you know too that Tabata is back at 5:30 in the morning for all you early birds, and that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we have started a youth and pause group, a YAP group for kids that want to help with the pause program. And we had our first attempt. It worked out really pretty well. And that's pretty much my news. And any questions?
Are you renting the city gym again?
We haven't been. We just opened up some other things. My thought was that we would wait a little bit and make sure there was, you know, the cases stayed down for a bit and then look at it. But we are not at this time.
Okay. I was just thinking that it would probably be good to kind of work towards that, just with the weather being so bad. A lot of kids haven't been able to go outside, and I know a lot of parents, even like small families, are willing to rent the city gym just to be able to let their kids run out some energy.
Okay.
So I know that's income too for us.
Okay. Yep, that's something I'd like to see too. I just wanted to wait just a little bit and make sure that it was, a safe thing to have happen.
Victoria, this is Julie. I was just wondering how the after school and the tutoring is going.
We're not doing much tutoring, but we're doing after school. We've lowered the age till 4th grade, and it's going really well. We are trying some roller skating. I did get find some noodles, the pool noodles. I asked Jessica if she had any, and she told me that the kids started eating them, so she quit carrying them. That was the most disturbing image of my day. But we use those so that they can play tag and stuff. So we've only had 4 kids at a time to skate, but it's a start. We're getting it, seeing how safe we can keep it. And we've had, the pool tables have been really good. The kids are really good at keeping their masks on, and it's so far so good.
That sounds good. And what about the tutoring?
Nobody really wants to be tutored. I don't have any interest for the high school kids at all.
So who's the tutoring open up to?
Anyone that wants it. 4th grade and up, if you need help, and we ask the kids every day if they want any help on their homework at all. We've got mostly middle school and elementary kids. I've not had any high school kids, and we've offered it to the high school. I've talked to everyone there. I just haven't had any interest, and I've got Samantha Wilson working for me, who's besides being a very good artist, has a degree in biology and is very good and very academic. So I have the opportunity, and no one's taken advantage of it.
So is the tutoring done, and I'm sorry, I don't know this, I haven't been participating all around the after school and tutoring, but is the tutoring in the same location are they combined as one, or are they 2 separate programs?
Well, with the CARES money gone, it's just back to a regular after school program, and we've always offered tutoring.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
so it's not the special program anymore. Okay, I got you.
No, not really. But we've always offered it, and we will always, have that option.
I got you. And then I was going to ask
As long as I don't.
Is karate allowed? Okay, are they able to go back to 3 days a week?
They're at 2 days now. No one has approached me for the 3rd day.
Okay.
The 3rd day was normally sparring, and they cannot spar.
Okay.
They're meeting Tuesday and Thursday, and if they want a 3rd day, all they have to do is talk to me.
Okay, so you're open to a 3rd day, just not sparring.
Right, and I see them I'm there every Tuesday and Thursday now, because that's when skating is. So, yeah, I'm there. They can talk to me anytime.
Okay, and then I had one last question for you. I'm sorry I hit you with so much in this one meeting. I've had a lot of parents approach me about gymnastics and about ballet. Now I really would like to teach gymnastics. I cannot think of a way to do it. That would, with the kids going across the equipment and the next thing, would you be open to talking to me about maybe possibly doing a small ballet in like a month or 2?
Oh, absolutely. And
Okay.
I think in a month or 2, things will be better, and it will open up a lot of opportunities. I'm still looking into doing some badminton and some pickleball.
Okay.
And I know people want to play volleyball, but I can't see how it could be done safely at this time.
All right, so I'm thinking about tabling ballet until the fall. I'm not ballet, gymnastics until the fall, but maybe I'll talk with some parents and we'll get together about maybe a ballet, smaller class spaced out.
That sounds great. I have lots of costumes. I'm ready. I've got tutus of all sizes, so
They just
everybody
can't
can participate.
switch costumes. They can't share them, right?
Huh?
They can't share the costumes back and forth.
I'll spray them down before I get them to them. Yeah, they've been sitting there for about a year, so they should have no virus on them.
All right, I think that's
No, I
everything I had.
would love that. Pardon? Okay.
I just wanted to acknowledge Katrina Beebe and Victoria for the cleanup. Went really well. They collected a lot of people participated. It was great for putting that kind of effort into the community. Thanks, Victoria.
Well, thank you. We're gonna do another one on February 6th.
I was talking to
Plenty
Victoria,
up with all the wind.
I was talking to Victoria today about possibly getting the gym open for rental sooner, and she's feeling that somewhere around mid-February or possibly March, getting it open.
Yep.
That's what I kind of thought. We'll see if we can get that open a little earlier. Is that what the council feels?
I do. I mean, with all these other programs that we're having, I feel like, especially if we put in the right cleaning
Well, we have that
tools.
that
in
sanitizer
place.
at the pool that we
I
can
mean,
come,
I would scrub that thing from head to toe if
You
they
don't
let me
have
rent
to.
it for my kids.
if you use that vaporizer.
If it's a family.
You would have to have some kind of protocols, you know what I mean?
We would.
Or like not rent it for, like rent it one time and like have to let it sit for so long.
Well,
So
we have that fogger that does bleach all over the place at the pool. That cleans it up pretty good. Anyway, maybe Victoria, we could sit down and figure out something to maybe look at possibly mid-February, getting that thing going. So,
Sounds good. Now with the fogger, does that mean we can tie-dye our clothes that way too?
sure.
Or do
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, just checking.
Okay.
I'm trying to multitask, get some extra activities in there too. No, that sounds good. Mid-February sounds like a great aim.
Okay. Good. We'll try to shoot for that and discuss it more. If you need to, come in and talk to us and let us know what you need.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for Victoria? No? Parks and public facilities.
I've submitted a written report and would be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Are you gonna help me at the ballpark tomorrow morning?
If you need me there, I'll be there to help you out, Mr. Mayor.
I don't know if I do or not, but it wouldn't be bad to have company. So,
No, I'll be there as a second set of eyes helping out.
okay. I'm not sure where we're gonna go with all
Headed
this.
that way.
We can see. Hopefully, Russell can bring a piece of equipment and then we'll be able to move some of them bigger sticks.
What time are you going back?
Around 8:30 or 9, wherever I get out of bed, usually pretty late. Is he home?
Yeah, he doesn't have a job now.
It's time to sharpen his saw then.
Bring a lot of wedges and big axe.
And he can ball.
He's been dying to go help clean that up, because we tried to run it, and we walk in the dark all the time.
Well, good.
Headlamps.
He can come give me a hand, so that'll fit some of these other guys. If he's willing to.
you're like, oh, he's willing.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
We'll bring the gator down too to haul you down in with your saws and everything too.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of slow and fast, so that'll be good.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on. Reading the correspondence. Anybody got any questions on that stuff? John, you got anything to say about any of that?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on to consideration of resolutions and ordinances. Are we gonna bring those other things down from the consent agenda on that? Correct?
They're down.
They're listed on the agenda
Are they good? All right.
under consideration.
Okay, resolution 2101, EMS response stipends.
Move to adopt resolution 2101.
Second.
Motion's been made to adopt resolution 2101. 2120, 21, something like that. Yeah. Is that a roll call vote?
After
Yes, sir.
discussion,
Pardon?
after discussion, yes.
Yes, after the discussion. Okay. Open for discussion. I believe so.
Julie McDonald,
Yes.
Hannah Bazinet,
Yes.
Jim C,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover,
Yes.
Mike Kempnich,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Timothy O'Connor.
Doesn't
I don't get the vote.
Oh.
They won't let me.
We
It
still have
was-
voted.
It did go well. Okay, thank you.
Oh, no, they ain't got one that one. All right, looking at resolution 21-02. The shared fishery tax resolution.
Move to adopt resolution 21-02.
Motion's been made to adopt 2102. Open for discussion.
Hannah Bazinet,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover,
Yes.
Mike Kempnich,
Yes.
Julie McDonald,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Jim C.
Yes.
Thank you.
And moving on to resolution 2103. Supporting the municipal harbor facility grant program. So,
Adopt resolution 2103.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to adopt 2103.
Hannah Bazinet,
Discussion. Any discussion on that? Now you're doing what I do.
yeah.
No questions for me.
Looks
We
good.
want to see it from Hans.
Mr. Mayor, does everybody understand this one? Or does anyone have any questions about it?
I was curious to see if you had anything you wanted to add.
Basically, it's just, the state built all the harbors, and then when they turned them back to the communities or gave them to the communities, they set up a fund where the communities could do a 50-50 matching grant to keep the harbors up in good condition. And for the last couple of years, they haven't fully funded that. This year, the governor doesn't even have it in the budget, and so this is just our community supporting that showing support that this gets put. It's an important item and gets put on the budget. It's going to be for other communities this year, but we don't have any plans to use this grant this year or any time in the near future, but we want it to be available. This has the potential of, we have a tier 1 grant still available for North Cove and for City Dock, along with tier 2 grants available for other harbor facilities. But basically it would let us rebuild North Cove for half price, is what it's for. So this is just showing our support to the state legislature to fund this grant program.
It's like a bookmarker.
Yeah, and several, it's a bookmarker, and several other communities have done the same resolution to show support of this funding.
And the resolution is just stronger than a letter, is that the idea?
That's what he explained to me today when I asked.
John might be able to explain that better. I don't
Yeah.
understand those workings of the government as well as,
I take your word for it.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you go to the fuel dock and buy fuel, you still are paying the tax. It was enacted, it was supposed to be passed through to harbors, and they obviously don't do that, so.
Interesting.
Calculate it out at the end of the year, send them a bill.
Yeah, it's separate, it's like a penny a gallon, but it's something.
It does add up.
It's 5 cents. Is it 5 cents, the state one?
I think it is. I may not be
Yeah, I
right.
can't
It's that luxury tax, isn't it, that's on fuel or something they
Lust tax.
Marine fuel-
Lust tax is
marine
what
fuel-
it on the reads on the receipt.
Yeah, it
Lust
looks like
tax.
Lust is leaking underground storage tank. It's the marine fuels tax that Jim's referring to.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. So what do we think of this 21-03? Call for the question. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hannah Bassinet,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover,
Yes.
Mike Kempnick,
Yes.
Julie McDonald,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Jim C.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business. CARES Act funding recap. Oh my God.
Mr. Mayor, don't need any action on this. This is just kind of a recap of all the programs and uses, all the things that we spent CARES money on in the last 10 months or so. Happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Is that all you got to say, Brian?
That's it.
Wow.
A comment on the previous report. I'm glad to see, finally, I've been trying to find and look everywhere that I could think of that Surge has done the 700 tests as of a week ago Wednesday. I'm sure they have to have made it to 1,000.
Julie, maybe you can fill this in. I was late in the meeting Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they talked about it then.
Off the top of my head, which I feel like every kid I have drained some out of my brain, but it was 954 vaccines.
954, someone did that.
That's off the top of my head, but it was 900 and something.
Not just people, not both shots, right?
That's correct. I think only the pulse shots were some of the frontline.
Like a lot of the others and stuff.
No, I think it was emergency.
Oh,
A
okay.
few of the
Yeah.
medical people.
Some of the EMTs and stuff, I think had gotten a second, but very few of those.
And it's probably slightly higher than that number. The first time that I talked to Jessica Pretty about it in one of our stakeholder meetings, she specified that that was basically vaccinations to the public, not counting their staff.
Oh.
So I think they've given some staff vaccinations in addition to what the total that they keep reporting to us.
Oh, okay.
So they're probably right at,
Were they counting EMS too?
yeah.
Okay.
So as of Wednesday, they were probably right at about 1,000.
Yeah.
I got mine Monday.
Yeah.
Which is just,
Victoria.
that's incredible.
Victoria said today she's almost ready to get her second one, so.
Right.
And I missed the first one and I haven't got near there yet, so,
They're doing a great job over there with vaccinations.
On one thing.
not yet.
So, yeah, thank you, Jim. I was just gonna mention, if you haven't already, even if, so what's happening is when they open a vial, when they hold a clinic, they decide how much vaccine they're gonna open up. And each vial has 10 or 11 doses in it. And so they are really going down the list as far as they need to in order to make sure that they have every single dose accounted for every vaccination clinic. So even if you don't think you're in one of the top tier categories right now, if you're interested in the vaccine, go to covid19.search.org and sign up. And they've got a computer algorithm that decides what order you're in. And if they've got an opening for a vaccine, they will call you. I've heard of a number of folks getting called that are under 50, don't have comorbidities, and are not first responders. So they're reaching down as far as they need to in order to make sure that they don't waste any doses of vaccine, which is great. So I'm continuing to encourage people to go sign up.
Like they had some people cancel, and so at the end of the day, they were just calling, trying to get people there. So that's part, I mean, I know some people that were in their 20s who got the vaccine.
Have the pharmacist got their staff there?
Yes, we're working on it. That we're working on getting all of our staff. And they called us one time when they got down low. They said, who from the pharmacy wants to come? Which was really nice.
Good to know. Okay. Any more questions for Brian? Okay, moving on, new business. Aquatic Center reopening promotional rates.
Mr. Mayor, there's a memorandum in the packet with the suggested promotional rates for reopening the pool. Jessica, I think, is probably still on the phone. In case you have any questions or suggestions for adopting what's presented or some modification to it.
What was the time? What was it? How long was this going to be for?
Which part?
Rate changes.
Says long-term rate change.
For the month of February.
Right, I guess I'm thinking of them both as being effective during February as a starting point for discussion.
Yeah, it says during February. Readmission on Saturdays during February.
Yes, we're looking at free admissions on Saturdays in February. The rate change for family night would be a permanent thing because I was hoping to keep Thursdays night as a family night.
Have you thought of a group fee for family night? I see that you have like adults 3 and children 2, but maybe if you did like a group of 8 for a certain fee, it might help bring people into just with the bigger families.
Or you could max it out.
Yeah.
You could say, adults 3, children 2,
Up to $20.
up to $20 per household. You have to say a household, otherwise it becomes bonus.
That would still be 7 kids and 2
Yeah.
adults.
Well, and $15.
So anybody with over 7 kids gets a bigger discount.
Jessica, what do you think about having the family night, 3 for adults, 2 for children, max up to blank for a household?
That's fine.
What do you think the blank number should be? 15, 12, 20?
12 would be a good number.
I don't know. I don't know. I think 20 is a nice little round number. I mean, we don't get many households that come in with 7 kids. So, I mean, I think that's actually kind of a moot point. So, but putting a $20 max on it would be fine.
What about a kid max? Could be a single parent. They have 3 kids, or if they have over 3 kids. It's just, yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Just wondering if maybe if it was an adult with, up to 3 kids, you pay for over, if they're all your kids, the rest are free, up to 3 kid max or something, for payment, not for.
That'd be a $10 max, basically?
Well, see, that depends on if both parents were there or not, that's what I'm saying, so how about just a kid max, like you only pay for up to 3 kids or something?
I don't know on that one because I don't know who all the families are, and I hate to say it, that not everybody is incredibly honest.
Yeah, that could get hard to calculate. I don't know, I don't know, I'm good with leaving it as is.
I think with, literally cutting the kids' price in half and taking $2 off of the adults, I think that in itself will bring people in. I could be wrong. I mean, we could be coming back to this in 6 months and going, nope, we're going to change this back or do something different. But I don't know. Thursdays are our slower days. We don't normally get many people in there, so I think anybody in there would be a good idea.
Well, why don't we roll with it and see what feedback she gets?
Sounds good.
Okay.
And the fee-free Saturday, is that just for the pool?
That'll just be for the pool. We'll see how well that maintains. Like I said, I've said before, we've tried to do dollar dip just for the pool itself, and that never works out because people always end up in the hot tub or in the sauna. But yeah, fee-free Saturdays is just for the pool. So if people want to go in and use the hot tub, the sauna, or the fitness room, they will have to pay the normal fee, and that would just be for the Saturdays in February.
Okay. Move to approve the following rates for the admission of the Craig Aquatic Center.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the aquatic center reopening promotional rate. Is that a roll call or all in favor?
Voice vote.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion's passed. Review the COVID.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Review the COVID-19 city facility opening and closure guidelines.
Mr. Mayor, I developed this in light of the changing, improving, hopefully, landscape of the virus transmission and setting a written policy in place for when we should consider closing and subsequently reopening city facilities. So it's provided here for your review and comment. And we're prepared to make modifications if need be based on council direction.
Council, you got any comments on this?
Except for that it says the gym won't be open. How long is this for? So does that, we'll just have to modify that in February when they are trying to reopen?
I think, yeah, we should take another look at it as in, well, the governor's most recent declaration expires February 15th. So we can take a look at it at that point. But like I said, I'm totally flexible on this. If the council wants an early review, I'm prepared to do that as well. Or I just have to take another, reconsider it at the February council meeting as well. We could do that.
So what was your question again about is it about the city gym being open? What was your question?
It says that these facilities will not be open for open gym sports activities or for rentals at this time. I was just wondering how long this thing lasted.
Okay.
Or just to make a note for us to readdress it before.
And we talked a little bit earlier in the meeting about mid-February, so it seems
Okay.
like the prime time to we look at it.
For some reason, when you said gym, I was thinking fitness room, and that's where I was getting lost.
Oh.
I got it now. I'm good.
Okay. You're good with these opening guidelines?
Do we need action?
We don't, unless you want me to do something different.
Not at this time. We'll look at it again the 15th of February. Consider intervener status of the roadless rule litigation.
Mr. Mayor, there's a memorandum in the packet, some backup information from Steve Silver as to the roadless rule, a brief history of what the council's done in the past. Steve wants to know if the council has an interest in moving ahead and participating in litigation as to the application of the rule. This is a policy call by the council, so merits your discussion and direction if there's concurrence amongst the council about what to do next.
I'm not sure of this. My views have changed a lot over the years. We clearly are seeing the effects of habitat degradation in fish, in deer, other wildlife. I'm sure in my logging, we need to be looking at how to initiate a young growth forest industry here that, you know, precludes from building more roads than what remaining old growth there is. During the meetings that went on for this, 95% of the people that testified were not in favor of overturning roadless. They were the United States residents. That was not, although there was a lot of, you know, form letters from all over the United States, the resident response to this was 95% opposed. And, you know, some of the things that I've seen that Mr. Solberg has wrote in here are really, they're either outdated or they're not accurate. On his memo on the first page, the background, second paragraph, and it's based upon a finding from 2003, that the department has concluded that the social and economic hardships to Southeast Alaska outweigh the potential long-term ecological benefits because the Tongass Forest Plan adequately provides for ecological sustainability of the Tongass. And, you know, it's pretty tough to say that that's, you can stand by that today when we're seeing fish stocks at some of the lowest levels since 1959 when they outlawed fish traps. You know, deer on the island, and I'll acknowledge there's multiple issues with deer, but one of the primary factors is habitat. Predation is part of it. And deer numbers are as low as anybody can remember here. It's been a source of major angst on the island. We're seeing increased weather high weather events. You know, we've witnessed it ourselves this year, slides all over. The majority of them are related to logging to some degree. And I mean, there's no place you can go on this island that has been eroded where fish, game, or habitat is as good as it was prior to erosion. It's significantly degraded. So this comes down to lifestyle here, and people, you know, we live off the land here. That's why for most people, that's why we live here. This is the environment we want to live in. We like this place. I understand the job implications of, you know, going away from logging, but it's inevitable. Jim mentioned that himself. And to continue to basically go down a road that we know has negative consequences for long-term lifestyle there, I just can't buy it anymore. That's my position on that.
Comments?
I agree with some of what Mike said, but I don't agree with part of it because when the forest came back after the gut-wrenching stuff that the pulp mill did, those areas got a pretty healthy fishery going. A big piece of what's happening right now has got something to do with the ocean, not as much with the streams as it did for a period of time in the 70s when they were down. But the humpies came back strong for a period of time. I'm more inclined to say it's time for us to, I hate to do this to the hatcheries, but they've lost their minds with how many fish they're putting in the oceans, especially the humpies. Humpies are voracious. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to allow any more humpies to be put into the water in Southeast, but the amount of humpies that they put in the water up in Prince William Sound is affecting everything. But I don't know if I'm totally against, I'm sick and tired of the government telling us what we can do on this island when they don't have a freaking clue what they're doing most of the time. I don't think at this point the Justice Department is going to defend this at all. Like he says in there, they're not going to help one iota. And if the new president can do an executive order, he'll do it because he's already blocking everything else in the world. The state of Alaska is in big trouble. What he's already, he already did an executive order on animal, right?
That's my understanding.
Federal lands, drilling.
Yeah, it's like. The only people who can afford to go to Anwar and see that beautiful place are rich people. And that's what they did. They had that big tour. After they did it, they chartered all those planes and then it was all rich people who went up there. The everyday person can't go into Anwar. It's ridiculously expensive to charter an airplane into there. I mean, that's a $5,000 trip to go in there for a few days, but I don't know if we want to be in any agreement or not. That's the rest of the council can help decide on that, but it's the deer aren't going to recover at all if they don't have something. The Forest Service needs to keep clear cutting pieces before the stem exclusion kills that ground. They need to just go into those areas and not thin them. They need to do something like grade them so that the brush will grow back up for the deer. But
that would be part of why I think we need to, I sponsored and the council accepted a resolution that we shared that, we encourage the Forest Service and our delegation to take serious look at beginning the young growth industry here. So that's kind of what you're referencing is starting to do the transition into young growth so that we can rehabilitate some of these areas that are devoid of habitat.
I think the young growth areas are so devoid of any seeds. If you go in and do a 100-acre clear cut in there, it's going to take them so many years before they grow any food because there's no berry brush seed in there. They have to keep doing it to the stuff before it gets to stem exclusion. Whether it's 30, 40 acre things so the deer have some food. Like I told Bryce when he was sitting here, what they did at Federal Steel, that was my deer bowl. I mean, we hunted that together freaking 40 years ago. And for them to go to 100 years with the cutting in 30 years, that's what happened. And part of that's because of the rovers rule. Part of it's because a wonderful senator gave all that freaking timber over at Polk Inlet instead of making them stay inside their own original box. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why this stuff is wrong. And it's not all one, it's not an easy situation. I'll shut up now.
Well, the other thing I'd say in response is that that's kind of why I don't feel comfortable anymore, continuing to see areas opened up is because we are facing this deficit, which you've acknowledged yourself for deer and habitat. And so by, basically liquidating more old growth, you're just exacerbating the present issue.
I don't think federal land that they're gonna let them log anymore anyway. You said that to me already.
Then why should we open it up to be rodents? When 95% of the people that responded said they prefer to see it stay rodents.
There are other reasons to put roads in besides logging.
Can I clarify one thing? The 95% that you're citing, is that Southeast Alaska, Prince of Wales, or?
That's Southeast Alaska.
That's,
It might be Alaska residents, but that is Alaska residents. That does not count the form letters and the mass mailing stuff that, we generated. That was in the tens of thousands.
I feel that our deer numbers have plummeted since federal management screwed up the goddamn wolf hunt.
Part of it.
That's 90% of it. Anybody that doesn't recognize that isn't paying attention because it wasn't the timber harvest that done it. It was the federal government stepping in and trying to manage wolves for the environmentalists. They did not do it for the good of the deer or the public or our subsistence hunters. They wiped out our opportunities.
Well, it was done as a subterfuge to stop logging. That's exactly.
That was their game.
Yeah.
The same as the spotted owl, same as the mountain lion, and several other things that have been tried in the past. And the roadless rule was the same attempt to try to stop logging.
If this ranger was such a good guide and he was willing to stop the wolf hunting, why did he end the subsistence season? People
Or
are
the
still
doe hunt.
killing deer right now.
Or the doe hunt.
And they, you know, the season should have ended December 1st.
Yep.
You know, to give the deer a chance. But no, he isn't gonna do anything like that, but he's gonna whack the wolf hunting. I mean, this guy, I'm not very pleased with this new fella at all. I mean, there's a lot more to it. To have the numbers to where, when the deer population is this low, where people can legally go get 5 deer, that's pretty freaking crazy.
I agree with that.
I mean, I don't know why nobody, when I first started, it was 3, and went to 4, and went to 5, and the feds say one of which can be a doe. And you know, that they're still all arguing about tags. You know, the state says you have to use them in order, and the feds say you have to use number 5 for your doe. You don't know if you're gonna get arrested for that or not. You know, there's so many factors involved in this that.
Yeah. And like I said, we didn't see the deer disappear until they started managing the wolves. When they dropped the number down to 8 to 12 wolves a year, which is insanity. And we all know that. You've done the studies and you're well aware of it.
That's part of it, but the habitat thing is almost, it's like a silent, it's like a, you know, it's like a plaque in your heart, it builds up, you don't know, and all, it's like a heart attack, and what's happening with the stem exclusion is it's incremental, you know, it's happening slowly, and so people don't recognize it or pay attention to it and, you know, understand it. Now, there is getting to be broader awareness in the island, the stem exclusion is a problem. You go up to Staney right now and man, drive down some of the roads and, you know, I said this a year ago, you can look out in the forest, there's about as much forage on our carpet here as there is out in the forest out there. You know, statistics of research show that in old growth forests, the average is somewhere around 10 deer per square mile in good habitat. And in like Staney and out at Hollis now, where that's in the 60+ year range, some of it, you're under 5.
Yeah.
And that's directly related to habitat. Then what happens is in, you know, the biologists that have the wolves collared from 2012 to 2016 documented where the wolves were by habitat category. And the habitat category where the least amount of time was spent by wolves was old growth that was, young growth that was 35 years above. Might have been 40 years, but it was the older young growth that had reached stem exclusion. And the reason they're not there is because the deer aren't there. Wolves are a problem. As a matter of fact, does anybody know what the number was? It just got announced.
No, I didn't hear it.
68 for this year.
Half of what we had last year.
Well, half, but they did that in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they basically did the same level harvest as they did last year.
Exactly.
Way fewer people doing it even.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm not worried, you know, there's plenty of wolves around. I'm not suggesting wolves are in danger. But we're, you know, we have a major habitat issue that's gonna persist for decades. And it will get worse before it gets better. I agree with Jim. That's why I said we should be starting in the young growth so we can start focusing on areas that can be rehabilitated. The last thing I'll say on that is the Forest Service has changed their thinning practices. They recognize what you said, Jim, and this comes from a number of people, Sealowski even. If they go in and thin earlier, before the stands lose the understory persists much longer, and in some cases, you can maintain some level of understory through the whole rotation. But when they let the whole stand go for 40 years before they thin, they lose the understories. And they have made that adjustment, so I want to give them that credit. They've recognized that. But I just can't support more roads in the future because it's detrimental to our lifestyle. It really is.
I think you got clear direction there.
You have clear direction.
else on the agenda?
I don't know, I honestly can't just blame something on just one thing, because there's roads created, that's the reason why, you know? But, I mean, there's good and bad to both sides. I don't have as much information as I would like on this. I've been looking at it slowly, but just with the time I have. But, I mean, there's good and bad to both, and I can't see why there wouldn't be how isn't there other things that we can do to help with rehabilitation to this, besides just saying no roads at all, or cutting out a whole industry of work.
We know that logging is gonna be reduced severely now that Sea Alaska's gone.
What is the
Right, but I
picture
don't-
look like with that, with Sea Alaska, if they give up the, remember, if they exchange it for carbon credits? And
It's
all the land for 100 years, it can't be logged, right?
They're not gonna keep up 100 years.
That's what they're signing contracts.
If
I
they
know,
sign
but
a
we've
contract-
seen corporations before say that they're not gonna do something and then go ahead and change it. I mean, honestly, 100 years of,
Yeah, Mike.
So the way the carbon credit thing works is, right now anyways, the majority, if not all of Sea Alaska's carbon credit lands are in, old growth forests. And a good example of that is the Hedda drainage down by Heidelberg. They were gonna go in there and log that, and Heidelberg,
Through it.
that's saying it, my
Yes.
And, good on everybody there. So what Sea Alaska did is they backed off, and this was like 6, 7 years ago. And then as carbon credits had become more accepted, they applied to do that down there, and it was, they got it.
And isn't that adjacent to the southern wilderness that we have down there? How many acres?
It's close. I don't know if it is or not, because Nepqua is south of it, and they logged some of Nepqua.
Yeah, but we logged right up against the boundary,
Right.
and that boundary come over the hill and shift boundary right in there
There probably is a little.
on Hennet.
But anyways, that was a good example of carbon credits working really good. So carbon credits, for the most part, and I might not be completely informed on this, but for the most part, carbon credits go within unharvested old growth forest. And secondarily, in Sea Alaska's letter, they are not opposed to logging. And they didn't say this in here, but I'm fully anticipating that they will begin a logging program in young growth when it becomes viable, and I actually applaud them for that. Just that it has to be done sustainably and on a rotation.
We're moving that direction, I
Right.
believe, anyway.
Right.
But my question to you is, you did some wolf studies down there in the wilderness.
Mhm.
Did you see any more deer there than you do here?
Not more, not less. It's a different habitat down there, actually.
But did you see more deer there than here?
Not more.
Because the wolves are there.
Well,
More wolves are there now,
Mhm.
and that's what's killing the deer.
Part of it.
And that is virgin down there, it hasn't been touched.
Well, the reason it hasn't been touched is because there's no commercial big timber down there.
No, but that's where it is wilderness,
Yeah, it's wilderness, but it's a different,
and it is roadless.
it's a different land scale, timber type. That's why they haven't logged down there.
True, but there is just as many deer there as there is here.
You have to break that out again, young growth and old growth, or, an old growth forest.
That's all old growth down there, no
Right.
matter what the size is.
There's less deer in the young growth here. It's fully semi-smooth.
True.
I can assure you of that.
Yeah, the 40 to 60-year-old stuff, there's a few more deer in it now because the brush is coming back, and the wolves and deer were active there above the ferry terminal when I was in there cutting that. And we were adjacent to that 40 to 60-year-old stuff, and there were deer and wolves in there. So.
do you
That's
know
my opinion.
the Forest Service is doing anything else about the stem exclusion besides just supporting the roadless tool?
Well, like I said, they modified their thinning practices. But one of the challenges that the Forest Service has is they're like tens of thousands of acres of thinning management behind, because they're in the 70s late sixties, all of the seventies and mid eighties, they were logging sometimes up to 4,000 acres a year or more. And they didn't start a thinning regime to match that at the 25-year interval. And so consequently, what's happened is they have a huge backlog of stuff that needs to be thinned, and they're not doing it at the same level as it was harvested at. Consequently, they're falling behind.
And they can't hire more displaced loggers.
Well,
Right.
they can't, I mean, I think some of you guys know this, they can't find crews. That's why you see crews that come from out of state and, you know,
Right,
Out of the country.
seasonal.
I didn't say it that way, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you can't blame the people for coming up here and working. I'm not blaming them at all. Nobody here wants to do it, or very few. There's a few, but very few.
Yeah.
So that's another challenge for the Forest Service.
Right.
They would actually do more, I think, if they could contract it out. And they've had real struggles contracting because of lack of workers sometimes. Anyways, I've said what I want to say. I think it's a lifestyle issue.
But what does the big picture of the old growth logging look like with Alaska trading it in for carbon credits, and that's all unloggable now? And then the roadless rule on top of that, that doesn't leave anything. Right? I mean,
Well, and you have the 7 wildernesses that are on this island included now.
right,
So you have Alaska's land plus the roadless
right. that's
areas
what-
plus the wilderness areas. Now, as a reserve for deer, bear, or wolves, what's that leave?
That's what I was wondering. I don't know like what the map would look like for southeast or whatever,
And
but
then
that seems huge.
And then they want to give away Red Bay, and they want to give away what's left over on Hecate.
Yeah, I think we said we don't support that. So
No, we don't. And
I mean, that comes back to what I'm saying. That's why we need to have this base, and we need to be starting to transition ourselves and continue to put pressure on the delegation of the Forest Service to do that.
Right.
we're going into a transition right now. If Alaska shutting down, we're gonna lose probably 3/4 or more of our loggers. So it's gonna shut down. We're well aware of that. And that's why when you say now you're gonna put the national forest off limits, what's left?
That's what I
Send 'em all
wonder
home.
too. I feel like it should just be, it needs to be modified, like it seems, like it's so lopsided. How it is, like, just none, no, I don't know. And then with Alaska, there's like no in between.
Well, there is opportunity. It's just that it has to be a new opportunity. You know?
Okay. Well, council, have you heard enough to make a decision on this?
I think we're in a position to direct John to write a letter at the moment.
So I would move to direct the city administrator to write a letter in support of this.
In support of,
In what Mr. Silver has asked us, in support of responding to the CX petition to maintain roadless. Just saying it the right way. Anyways, just in support of Mr. Silver's, what is it? Consider intervener status in roadless rule litigation for the city of Craig. And on the side of maintaining the new Alaska
Exemption.
exemption. Thank you, Ken.
so that would be supporting
That's
Mr.
right.
Silver's.
That's right.
But I'm confused, didn't you just?
He's just trying to line up a vote on it.
I'm giving people the opportunity to say yea or nay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's what we're doing. We need a second on that, or everybody stick their nose out?
This is just a recommendation to direct staff, though.
Correct.
We're not doing,
So you don't need to vote.
right? I mean, are you just needing to
to know how many are in support and against kind of thing.
Well, Michael can speak, it's his motion. I'm guessing that, I guess, Michael, is it your intent that the motion would direct the city to enter as an intervener with the other interveners in the group to support the exemption? Is it implied that we would, is the motion implied that we would contribute cash as well to the effort?
Yeah, it's basically just getting it to the council on record.
Yeah.
Yes or no. And, you know, it's giving people that option.
So we need to vote on this, John?
There needs to be a second to the motion and then discussion following the second.
I'll second.
Motion's been seconded to direct staff to reply to Mr. Silver's correspondence on this. And we're open for discussion.
I just wish there was a way to make it more local, you know, like, 'cause I shared Jim's hesitation with the federal government, with people have never been to Alaska, you know, telling us. That's exactly my problem. I wish we could do a version of it that then had some kind of, at least state or regional. I wish it was more localized instead of federal. Yeah. That's I hear what you're saying, and as a former biologist, I'm with you. But I also don't there's a fundamental part of the federal government just saying no, and it's like, well, we don't know what the future holds, and now we've got this federal overarching thing where the people that don't really understand our area and our economic and environmental needs.
And that's my problem with the roadless rule from the beginning, is that the federal government stepped in there. Bill Clinton initially enacted the roadless rule strictly for political reasons, not for science. And I've seen the federal government manage the wolf population here and seen it turn into a disaster.
Yeah.
Which is why we have no deer now, which everyone here knows this.
And Mike makes a lot of great points.
He does.
And that's why I like to see it.
I agree with his want to move into second growth and that too, but.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to, within the next 5 to 10 years, you're gonna see it start happening. Regardless of what happens with the roadless, but I do not like the federal government telling us that what we're gonna do here.
Yeah.
Like everyone else. And they've done this with the wolves, and they created this mess that we're in right now, why we don't have deer. And they messed with the bear regulations, they messed with the wolf regulation, which sent the deer into tailspin. And that's where we're at today. And they just did it again last year, and it was Fish and Game that intervened and did not follow the recommendations of our district supervisor on the Forest Service. He was recommending a full hunt. The Fish and Game said no, because they were scared of the environmentalists.
That's right. But what they're trying to avoid is the possibility of an endangered species listing. Because once that happens, you're not gonna, it's gonna be tough to get that off. So I mean, Fish and Game was in a tough place in this.
They were, I agree. But I believe that the way he acted was more in fear of them doing that listing instead of coming up with the sound science that said, no, you're not. There's no grounds for listing and there's nothing else. We have that data. We have the proof. You look over it yourself.
I think the numbers are low. I've said that all along.
Yes, I know.
Always said that.
We all agree on that. And this is just another federal overreach as far as I'm concerned. That's what this turned out to be, and this was initially what it started as, the roadless rule in itself.
It's federal response to potential litigation. They're not initiating it, they're responding to it.
They're responding to it, which means they laid down and rolled over and didn't fight for what they should have done.
See, one of the things, the roadless rule had a bunch of really strange little pieces in it. It's like the Forest Service was able to close a road here, put in a new road for logging, but then the minute the logging was done, they had to close the road. Was that part of the roadless rule, or was that some other lawsuit that made them do that, Mike?
That was some of the wolf management stuff where they wanted to limit access. So where they logged and built new roads, which, you know, everybody here was unhappy with, as soon as they get done with the sale and they backed out, they had to block them off, and that was because of other litigation, if I'm not mistaken, that was trying to limit access out in new areas because of pressure on resources like wolves and deer, not the deer.
It's so ridiculous. I walked in several of those roads along the Coffin Cove Road this year, the one at mile marker 19, for instance. It's 1 mile from the turnoff. That road goes in less than half a mile. There's enough firewood in there for everybody in the city of Craig to have firewood for 5 years if they'd have just let that stupid road open for a frickin' year or two. And it's in there, and there's lots of, it's unbelievable y'all see it in there. Same thing, well, the state did it too, there up above where they close it. There's some, but I thought those aren't because of the roadless rule.
No, because if the roadless rule would have covered those areas, and they wouldn't have been able to move in there.
What I understand about that road thing on the roadless rule, maybe I'm wrong, but was that, let's say that this forest is allowed 1,000 miles of open road at one time. So if you opened up 2 miles of new road, you had to close out 2 miles of old road. And in order to maintain to stay within your 1,000-mile limit. And that's what they were doing. As soon as they opened one, they'd close another one, or they'd close one and then open another one. And that was what the roadless rule was meant to be. And then you had your lead in your rear too and all that they were not including in wilderness acreage, but it was there. It's still wilderness because you couldn't go into it.
Right. I know what you're saying, and you're right, there is some of that goes on. I don't think that's associated with roadless. I still think roadless is, if it's roadless, it's roadless. That was a tactic that was implemented to try to maintain or try to minimize, broad access costs to the forest to, help protect wolves is what it was. That was part of the, I guess you'd say that the Forest Service and the state agreed to that because of the potential of litigation as a way to put litigation off. Is that right? That's kind of, so that was a stipulation of a lot of these sales that have happened. I agree. I think it's terrible that people can't go in and utilize this stuff. But that's the basis of why that's like that. So they're not related. Roadless and that road management thing are different.
Different lawsuits.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's what everybody's so confused about. You have so much federal intervention that nobody can keep track of what the heck we're supposed to be doing or which direction we're going. You have federal rules that are butting heads against other federal rules, and we're caught in the middle.
The only thing I don't like about the 95% Alaskan on your quote is because it shouldn't be Alaskan. The Tongass forest is down here. It shouldn't count the 5,000 people in Anchorage who commented, because I don't give a rat's ass what they say to be incorrect, but this is Southeast Alaska, not Anchorage.
They're the same people that shut down our marine lines.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to give millions of dollars back to the oil companies.
And keep open the Stewart Highway.
Yeah, we shouldn't go there though.
All right.
Anyway,
I think that we should give Steve Silverman what he needs to intervene on this.
question about being an intervener. How much money do we have to cough up if we are an intervener?
5,000. 5,000 is what he asked for. We can modify it if we choose to, or we can, go with what he's asked for.
I'm good with that. So does your motion include the $5,000 contribution as well?
Because it's supporting what he's asking for.
Okay.
Unless somebody wants to modify the motion.
So we done discussing this, do we want to vote on it? Council?
I wish we had better maps and stuff to see what this is all about. We don't have time to do it.
I know, that's-
I'd like to see current, they quit putting out good maps quite a while ago, at least that I've seen. They quit sending them to me anyway.
It's fair to ask for table of motion for more information. Actually, I almost said that to begin with.
Do we have,
This is March 11th. I thought it said answers due by February 21st.
February 21st, so we were talking about having a meeting on the 18th.
It's not
That
enough
gives
time.
much time. Yeah.
It's not enough time for him to act, I don't believe.
So
Go ahead, John.
if the councils chooses to move ahead with this, then so be it. And if the council chooses not to move ahead with it, in favor of gathering more information or whatever, it can probably join later as an intervener.
I mean, technically, we have a meeting scheduled for the 4th. I could end up calling in if we needed a quorum. And that didn't feel very good, but that's.
John will be here either.
Oh, that's true.
Now, I don't get a vote. But yes, I won't be here. I won't be able to call in that night either.
But on the 18th, that's enough time to he's gonna do the work regardless for these other people. So if on the 18th we chose to become an intervener, it would probably be okay, right?
I haven't asked Steve that directly. But in the past, I know that interveners have been added later on. I think there is a point at which the court won't accept intervener status anymore, but I don't know that you would totally miss the opportunity to intervene if you delayed the decision by one meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking for. Is there a cutoff date to be considered an intervener? See, timing is important. The Justice Department must file its answer to the complaint on February 21st. While it is not required that we file this motion to intervene before then, chances of success would be enhanced if the motion to intervene is filed by then. So it looks great on that.
Yeah, so technically the 18th is okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't even have to have the money in hand. They just need our assurance that we're going to or we're not.
Right.
That's correct as well.
Right, they just need to know when we're.
Is there a way we can get something from the Forest Service that shows the reality of what's left on this island? I'm sure they have it mapped out, old growth remaining. I remember getting those things up to about 5 years ago. They quit sending them to me, and I just was like, that's good enough. I got so many files of deal in my house. I didn't call them and tell them to keep sending them, so. Love to be able to get something like that from the Forest Service to see.
I'm sure that they would accommodate a request from us for mapping information on roadless areas.
And they have it all graded.
I mean, the roadless areas already exist because the rule's been in place for a long time. But I'd be happy to gather up, if that's what the council's interested in, is in maps of inventoried roadless areas. I'm sure the Forest Service could generate that in no time at all.
Right, but roadless areas, and then they have the overall map that should say what's currently left, roadless and non-road, the open road, the quality of the timber. I mean, it's all been cruised. I know how many board feet per acre, and I kind of know the quality. Once you got to cut into it to know for sure. Because some of it they cut into it, they leave about 90% of the trees there. Some of these places, but
Most of the helicopter stands, they end up leaving a good 75% of it standing. They don't even fall. They just go in a cream it, take out the good and leave the rest. And that is good habitat because it's opening up brush holes for growing that brush like you're talking about. I noticed the Forest Service was also doing that up on Staney Creek when they went in there and opened those little 1/4 acre chunks of ground in there in that 40-year-old or 50-year-old second growth, trying to bring in brush in those holes to feed for habitat.
none of them grow.
None of them
grow in any brush.
No, they're not, and I've seen that, so.
They waited too long.
Yes, they
That's the
did.
whole problem.
Yes, they did.
you get this information, John, you could just email it to us, right?
Yes.
Instead of having to wait for.
That's correct.
Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah.
One thing I can say, I mean, the Forest Service has all this, I've actually only seen all of it a couple of years ago, when they actually went through the meetings to determine whether they wanted to go to the Alaska Roadless Rule or maintain the present road, the previous roadless rule, all this information is provided. And it can be provided to us. Forest Service hasn't been provided to us. They're a public agency, they're required to if they ask. What I will say is, it's gonna be stacks of stuff and it will take a long time to go through. We'll just be aware of that.
Yes.
Some of I know, some of the, just the main map, so you can see what's left and how many board feet, I mean, they haven't. I recall some of the things being condensed pretty well at some points, you know, where you don't have to read the 5,000 pages to get a picture of how many trees are left on this island.
Do they have that stuff like online, like if you could just give us maps and maybe links to where we could, if we wanted further information, do you know if it's online or is it all just?
I'm guessing the inventory roadless areas are posted online somewhere, but for the sake of expediency, I should ask the Forest Service to provide us explicitly with maps and tabulations that detail timber volumes and in units that's within something that's digestible for the council.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a bunch of links and make you hunt around for it. I'm going to ask the Forest Service to explicitly provide the information, if that's what the council wants to have done.
You get a half a dozen or a dozen good maps and we can put them up and we can all come in and just come in and go nuts looking at them until our eyeballs pop out. Get some being able to decipher them somehow. And Mike can help decipher them because he knows way more about this than anybody else does.
Okay.
So now we need to just, so you made the motion and she seconded it, so if we want to table it, they have to do it, right?
Anybody can move to table the motion, I think. If you want to withdraw it, it has to be the original mover and second. That's how I understand it.
Well, I'd like to still keep it on.
Yeah, tabling it, because we want to make a decision one way or the other next time, so it should just be tabled. So anybody can table the motion once it's made?
That's how I understand the process, yes.
Then I would recommend at this point that the motion that I made be tabled until the following meeting.
Chanel, she said it better first.
And then, Mr. Mayor, you want to vote on the amendment and then on the main motion as amended.
Okay. So we'll vote on the amendment first. Is that all in favor?
It is.
All in favor of the amendment as Mike stated?
Are we voting to table it?
Yes.
Is that
Oh,
the
yes.
amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Now we'll vote on the amendment.
The motion as amended is to delay decision on participating in the litigation till the next meeting. Michael, is that your interpretation?
So all in favor of doing that?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys.
Council comments.
Council comments? I do have a few. First of all, I appreciate everybody kind of bearing with me on that one. We're up for the long one.
I appreciate
It
your
needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Richard Summers, I think most of you, not all of you know, passed away early this morning. Longtime person now, tried for many, many decades, well-regarded, great guy, tough to see him go. I was reporting this at the end, I mentioned it now, state reported yesterday that 68 wolves were harvested, sealed in unit 2 from this past season. And the last thing I want to bring up was something that we tabled in July, or maybe it was in June. And I'm not suggesting we do this, I just want to bring it up to talk about it. we were gonna increase our water rate because of the COVID issue and money and all that stuff. We postponed it for 6 months. Do we wanna, I'm not making a motion, I'm just asking, do we wanna talk about this again, or do we just wanna continue with the holding off?
I would,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think I'm holding off just because January and February, I feel like are the most slowest times around here to even bring up increasing anything. I feel like the city residents would not be happy, even us just discussing it.
I think we get that, we waited this long, let's do it during the budget process and get it squared away and decide, we can all agree at that point to change or not change what we're doing.
We just might want to start early on. Remember, we were talking about, it got really convoluted with how we were gonna not convoluted, but we were talking about restructuring it and stuff, so it's something we should probably start early in the budget process.
We were working on it today, Russell and I. And I met with Russell and Sherry last week as well about it. I corresponded a little bit with Hannah recently to help refresh my memory on some of the discussion that we had with the when the council last considered the rate change. So we're working on a restructuring. Russell's been an immense help so far, but there's still a ways to go. So I hadn't forgotten about it, but it's also true that I hadn't worked on it earnestly since the council tabled it until recently, really early this month.
We kind of had something come up.
Yeah, it's been busy.
Yeah.
But anyway, just coincidentally, Russell and I spent time on it today, and we're going to continue to work on it. And I do expect at this point it'll fold into the budget process. And, it'll be subject to your review on probably more than one occasion during the budgeting and subsequent council meeting processes. Anything to add, Russell?
Oh, that's good. So my thought on that is I actually would be comfortable waiting too, but the reason I did want to bring it up, and I'm glad that you followed up with it already, is that the water enterprise is one of the ones that it's probably the one we're subsidizing the most, and we do need to keep making progress at balancing that. So I don't mind waiting a few more months through the next budget cycle, but I also feel, it's something we need to be taking seriously because it's not balanced. Well, I did have one last thing. I'd like to thank RJ for going down and going to Mark City. Going down to Mark.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
community services.
it was an honor and a privilege, but not an easy thing to do either.
Thank you.
I do have one complaint from St. Nick resident, wondering why we're charging them for undeveloped lots. So, but I told them that's just, if you own a lot out there, you have to pay because that lot's gonna use that road at some point.
Yeah, the fee is subject, it's a per lot fee.
That's kind of what I thought. Just to try to get you the wrong pin then.
The road is what makes the lot way more valuable as it is. So
There it is. So, that's what I said also, as she ran me out the door. Anyway.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made to adjourn, all in favor?
All right. You got it.